Alright, let's go. Viewer discretion is advised for the viewing of this video as it will contain topics like stalking, harassment, and other, and death and attempted murder and other kind of adult and, non PG themes where I'll talk about one of the people that inspired me to do this actually go through something that have their life threatened. So, this is the first thing I want to get out of the way, and I want to and I want to make a video, right? Saying this really fast because one thing that I've noticed in this during this whole fucking ordeal that a lot of people cannot look past themselves in their politics to see somebody that was in danger and almost died for little to no fucking reason, who almost had their eyes closed for fucking ever. And a lot of people are using this for political points, and a lot of people are using this for LARPing aesthetic. And I'll get to the political shit later. And I actually let him say because I watched this video already. And I will say this about the people that are LARPing. First of all, I noticed that there's two types of conservatives on planet Earth. Let me adjust myself to make sure that I'm sitting on my bed correctly. There's two types of fucking conservatives, and neither one of y'all are these like over exaggerated tough guys like you try to exclaim or claim to fucking be. A lot of conservatives are either teenage kids who are mad that some guy on the football team is with the person that they have a crush on, so they become a conservative and they quote unquote hate degeneracy and stuff like that when they would fucking banked at the chance to partake in some of the degeneracy themselves. Or you got fat, lard ass old people who are mad because they saw a person with blue hair, or they saw a black person with a hoodie on, so they fucking buy a bunch of AR-15s talking about how they're waiting on some black person. They don't say black person, they probably say the N-word, by the way, to try something on their white wife. So with this in mind, a lot of conservatives are fucking weak pussies. And I'm sorry to say that if you're a conservative watching this video, because it probably applies to you. A lot of conservatives grew up in very pampered, very sheltered, very protected lives. And all this LARPing bullshit about I would've combat road John Wick, grabbed my gun, Spider-Man them, and all this other shit where people are going around saying I would have done this, I would have done that. That's easy to say in hindsight, but when the heat's really on you, would you would have got your sorry ass up and actually did the things that you said that you're gonna do? A lot of you people wouldn't, because I can tell you right now, as somebody that grew up in the street, somebody that been in this fair share of actual like street fights and shit like that. A lot of you conservative motherfuckers are not about the life that you claim to fucking be. Y'all buy some guns and take some fucking pictures, but a lot of y'all are not fucking tough. Y'all never been in a real street fight, and your violence and your intent to do something to people only projects as far as you can get away with it. Like the bitch, like the dudes that did that shit to Ahmaud Arbery. Every fucking conservative is those three men who helped, or four I should say, because the one guy got charged too, that helped kill Ahmaud Arbery. Y'all are not fucking tough, and y'all need to stop this LARPing bullshit about I would have jumped over the hood of my car and went into the back of my Dixie Mobile and grabbed my shotgun. No, the fuck you wouldn't have had. A lot of y'all motherfuckers can't even walk past a black person without y'all fucking heart beating fast. Some of y'all can't even be around women, especially women that are dressed sexually or expressive. So stop all this LARPing bullshit about, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that, from a person that can't even stop the jock from dunking a fucking head into the toilet, or from a fat lard ass that can't even run up no goddamn stairs. Because I'm tired of hearing that shit where you got all these fucking out of nowhere tough guys. I would have grabbed my gun and I would have defended my woman. It's like no y'all niggas would have had. Not to mention the fact a lot of y'all couldn't get a woman anyway, for various reasons that would take a whole nother video to get into. But without further ado, let's fucking go.
Week since somebody tried to kill me. And no, this is not clickbait. This is actually something that legitimately happened. I've never been so close to death before in my entire life, and I'm absolutely incredibly thankful to still be alive and to even be able to be making this video for you guys today. Today I'll be sharing more details about this ordeal, as well as dispelling some of the ridiculous rumors that are being spread online by desperate clowns. The backstory. This is Holly Knoll. Holly is a Twitch streamer who focuses on mental health, gaming, and fostering a positive community. Holly and I have been friends now for several months, and we really began bonding over video games and our shared interest for live streaming, of course. Our friendship was only platonic at the time, and it stayed that way until after her prior relationship ended, a relationship that she said was abusive. Holly and her ex-boyfriend Conrad were together for 12 years. Despite the abusive and the difficult relationship, Holly continued to care deeply for him. Although Holly cared for Conrad, she began to grow mentally, and she came to the
fucking neck beard much, bro. Did this dude ever take a shave? God.
realization that she didn't want to continue the cycle anymore. This led to Holly's decision to end the tumultuous relationship. Conrad had a history of making seemingly baseless threats of violence against virtually anyone who stood between him and Holly, including me. I had also been clear to Holly that she shouldn't tolerate abusive behavior. Conrad was familiar with my content, and he enjoyed watching my debates as well. It didn't take long for him to realize that Holly and I were talking once her relationship ended. This led to several threats of violence against me, threats that I wrongly believed at the time to be baseless. The attempt.
I mean, I would say that it wasn't wrong to believe that they were baseless because nobody should have to live their lives worrying about somebody trying to do some shit to them. I feel like everybody should get through the next day or two and just, just live their life. It shouldn't be nobody trying to kill nobody over no woman because, to be honest, man, I lost a previous relationship in a very similar way, but even though I wasn't abusive and that wasn't my fault, but she wound up with another person, and guess what I did? I was mad about it. I was angry about it. I was, discombobulated about it, but then I let it go. I moved on, and now 3 years later, I'm married. Nobody should be trying to kill anybody over, lost love. But I guess love is a very strong emotion, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, there's a such thing as like, lost love, and the shit just hurts, and then there's like actually going down this like incel like right wing rabbit hole of type of thought, and even if you're not right wing, of course, as you'll see through this video, you can go down to this thought of possessiveness of women, which is very unhealthy for yourself, and of course for the woman that you're unhealthily seeking after.
On December 3rd, 2023, over a month since her relationship had ended, Holly arrived on the East Coast to visit me. We were not dating at this point, and we only planned on spending a week together. Before Holly drove to the airport that day, Conrad also told her, quote, "You made the wrong choice." Again, because of this guy's long history of making baseless threats, we really didn't take much of this very seriously. Things quickly escalated, however, when Holly arrived at my apartment and my iPhone alerted me that AirTags had been using my device to track my location. We searched Holly's luggage and we found 2 different AirTags stuck to the inner lining of her suitcase and her backpack. When Holly confronted Conrad, he admitted his intent was to find my location. She says that she's going to be filing a police report, and Conrad responds, "For what? An AirTag to see where..."
Well, how about we talk about this first? Never be so caught up into a woman or a relationship to the point where you do like stalking weird shit like this. This is unhealthy and inexcusable.
Where you would be so I can see where this dumb fuck lives. However, since we were across the entire country and this guy had done so many crazy things in the past, we just wrongly waited to file a police report, chalking this up to just another abusive or crazy tactic. Fast forward to December 8th. It's a bit past noon, and suddenly I get a call from my landlord informing me that there's somebody at my building to see me. My landlord told me that this person claimed that I had been expecting them and I must have fallen asleep because I wasn't responding to any of their phone calls. I told my landlord not to let anybody inside the building. Holly and I were definitely suspicious, but we just could not believe that Conrad would actually fly across the entire country.
This is why you would notice, like, I don't know if this is a thing, but I feel like suburban apartment buildings must be different from apartment buildings in the inner city, because I've tried to visit friends and what have you in the inner city, and an apartment, especially at nighttime, is locked the fuck down. Nobody's going in and out, except that person has to literally come down there to get you, to let you into to see you upstairs and what have you. You cannot just walk into an apartment building, go to the front desk at in most apartments here, and then just be like, "Oh man, I'm here to see such and such, and go get them for me." Like, they don't do that shit here. If you don't have a key card to get in that door, you don't have a key card to get into that door, and that's how it really should be. And it shouldn't be no. And I'm sorry, man. Like, some of this goes on the landlord's ass too. I don't like about this situation is that why in the fuck would you take? Because it's like, okay, I'm not saying he necessarily, or he or she saw them or them saw Hunter walk in with the woman early, but it's like, dude, really? Like, you really let this motherfucker in here? Well, I guess hindsight is 2020 for this landlord, but I feel like, most apartments in most other parts of the country would not been as lenient about just letting a random motherfucker in.
I decided to go down to the front of the building to see what was going on. Holly wanted to go herself. I told her no, so we ended up just going together. We walked to the bottom of the steps, and I didn't see anybody standing at the door. So I walked all the way to the bottom of the steps, opened the door, and I stuck my head out of the door, and I looked right for a second, didn't see anything. Then I looked left, and almost instantly, a man with a mask and a large jacket came out from behind the corner, staring at me dead in the eyes. I did not recognize this person, but I knew something was wrong, so I quickly backed up and slammed the door shut. The door is made of all glass and it locks automatically. Although I didn't recognize this person, Holly instantly recognized this person as Conrad. Within seconds of me seeing this strange person that I didn't recognize, we realized that it was in fact Holly's ex-boyfriend here at my house to enact revenge. I was still in disbelief and trying to process what was even going on when Holly began shouting that he had a gun. This all happened so quickly, but remembering his threats to kill me, Holly stood in between me and Conrad, only inches apart, and told me to run. Holly took a risky bet that day that Conrad wouldn't.
If my computer will let me, because the mouse pad is kind of sketchy at times. But anyway, a lot of people, because we're getting to the actual conflict part of this video, and it's like, a lot of people, I just want to say this, no, you wouldn't have had. And that's all I'm going to say. We can continue.
Kill her. Holly was remarkably brave, and the fact that she acted so quickly and so bravely really deserves all the praise. Holly also bet right. Conrad didn't try to kill her. Instead, upon seeing me run back up the steps, Conrad shot the lower corner of the glass door to breach entry, injuring Holly in the process. The police later informed us that the bullet he had used to fire through that glass door was a slug intended for me. And just seeing a picture of a shotgun slug and knowing someone had that intended for me, it's unsettling to say the least. Now, there have been some imbeciles who want to take away from Holly's bravery here and instead want to just criticize me for, quote, allowing Holly to stand between me and my attacker. I think this might be where the whole human shield rumor comes into play, but nobody put enough.
And it's weird to say, like, it's weird to be commenting anything, because it's like this, dude. If you don't like somebody politically in general, because to be honest, Hunter Avallone is not like, and I wouldn't say that about any political person unless they're actively partaking in, like, violent harm against people. That's a whole different subject. But it's just like, the dude is just a political live streamer. And there's a lot of people on the internet that want Hunter Avallone to get himself killed, or wanted something bad to happen to him, and because it didn't happen to him, like, he didn't get killed, now it's oh, you human shield, you what about defund the police, what you call police, oh, I would have combat rolled under the bed and grabbed my Uzi, like, all this bullshit that he has to deal with for just just what does he do? He does debates and he does political videos making fun of conservatives. And it's amazing that, because, I do the same thing, obviously. People are so angry at this man because he had a principle, shift. And I guess, like, a lot of people are mad because he went from conservative to like liberalism, then to like more social democratic viewpoints. But it's like this with a lot of people, bro. As somebody who used to be not necessarily a conservative, but kind of like a black anti SJW type guy who didn't like the liberals and the blue haired feminists and shit like that. It's like, where do I even start with this? And I guess that would take a whole nother video for me to explain my political growth, let alone go over the video of him explaining his, like I did the Xander Hall one. But it's like conservatism, if you ask me, and because a lot of people are mad because he's not a conservative. Conservatism is the ideology of a fucking child. Conservatism is, to me, a 12-year-old's view of politics. That goes conservatism, fascism, neo-Nazism, paleo-conservatism, Mormonism, Catholic nationalism, Christian nationalism, all of this shit with the way that it views politics. Libertarianism, objectivism, or whatever the fuck else. What's that one fake anarchy one? The black and yellow one. But it's not actually anarchism, anarcho-capitalism. These are political ideologies of angry children or old people who cannot, grasp a changing world, so they lash out in anger. And it's like you need to look within yourself and see what you can change to better your life or better the world around you, instead of trying to take things away from other people or make other people's lives worse because you want to feel a sense of superiority. Or you need to work on your own mental health about why you hate or have issue with certain kinds of people or certain people, and and grow out of that shit. Instead of getting mad at him because you like literal Nazis go try to debate this guy on like black history and black crime, or trans people or feminism, and then when this guy embarrasses a lot of y'all thinkers, or just a lot of y'all when y'all call in, and you so mad at this dude that you want him to get killed. Like, he changed his life for a fucking reason, and living your life literally to the point where you want some harm to come to somebody because they grew. Because Hunter said it himself, and this is what conservatism on YouTube is. He could just have spent the rest of his life lying about shit. Didn't have to change anything. I could do it too. I can be an easy black conservative grifter. But we express the things that we express, and we say the things that we say because we are actually trying to make the world a better place, and not because we're angry because we saw an interracial couple on TV, or because a gay person told you excuse me at the mall yesterday, or whatever the fuck y'all fucking idiots get mad about. Oh, the girl who's absolutely nothing like me and is in a completely demographic of people than me, and I don't mean demographics as in race. I mean, like, social class. Like, oh, Brenda the cheerleader didn't want to mess with me, the comic book nerd, so now I'm a Nazi. And that's really a lot of y'all motherfuckers' lives and logic. And instead of bettering yourself or thinking of ways that you can better the world yourself, or coming up with different ways in which to improve your own life, you get mad at him and you want something bad to happen to him. And then y'all try to put all these, whether it's political or social post-talk justification, to try to justify the shit that he went through, man. That's really hard-hearted and fucking ignorant. And it's not hard-hearted in the fact that it makes you cool. It makes you hard-hearted in the fact that you are a terrible LARPing piece of shit. Because this man, in the grand scheme of things, and many others like him, have not done anything but have different opinions than you. So somebody who has different opinions than you, correct opinions, in fact, a lot of the time, should die. And then, before I even press pause again, and I know I'm only 5 minutes into a 19-minute video, but like, a lot of conservatives go around getting mad when actual Nazis who are going out, saying, anti-Semitic slurs, anti-black racist slurs, talking about what they're going to do to trans and gay people in public, and they march around with their flags, and those people get into fights and stuff, and y'all lose y'all shit. Because it could be an actual Nazi gang whose explicit goals it is to make America a white supremacist utopia. They get into a street fight, and y'all don't shut the fuck up about it for years. And mind you, bro, a lot of these people in these gangs and shit deserve the shit that came to them. But y'all would be like something. She looked, Antifa is like political violence and stuff. They're like beating up people for different opinion. But this dude does like a quick snarky debate, maybe 20-30 minutes, with somebody talking about some women should be subservient, and then this person deserves to die. That's really fucked up, bro. And I don't understand or sympathize with, that type of thinking. It's very fucking ignorant. And it's not, like I said, cold-hearted as in, haha, I'm the cool, cold-hearted guy. Like, no, you're a piece of shit, bro. Like the rats in a fucking sewer are higher up than a person that thinks that somebody should die because my favorite Nazi, Nick Fuentes, argued with him and he corrected a lot of the dumb shit he said. So now when something bad in life happens to him, and I mean something really bad, because this is not like financial loss, this isn't even like his divorce, and that shit, I didn't even look into it, but I had to hear details about it anyway, because during his streams a lot of dumbasses want to call in and be like this is why Andrew Tate's way worked, because you had a divorce for completely unrelated reasons. Even though I have not had one fucking girl in my life, I can tell you why your marriage ended. But let's keep going, man, because I can rant about that shit all day, where you got a lot of LARPing asswipes on the internet that go around talking about how they want bad stuff to happen to people because they corrected their foul fucking opinions.
Other person before themselves. Holly has autonomy. She made that snap decision, and it's a decision that ultimately saved both of our lives. She not only noticed the gun hidden in his jacket before I did, she believed she would be more likely to reason with him since he only wanted to murder me. Even more so, according to the active shooter protocol, if there are 2 or more persons in the same place when a violent incident begins, you should spread out in the room to avoid offering the aggressor an easy target. Not only did Holly think quickly and rationally, but we ended up following the actual protocol as well. Again, all the haters online LARPing as John Wick would literally be dead right now if they were in the exact same situation. The protocol also says, take others with you, but do not stay behind because others will not go. Had I not trusted Holly's judgment, I would have provided a larger target and a potentially more deadly outcome. Even more so, again, Holly has autonomy. This ordeal played out within 5 to 10 seconds. I couldn't have just grabbed Holly and carried her up the steps. Not only would that be unrealistic, it would literally not have been possible considering how quickly this whole thing played out. I went up the steps slightly out of view from the door and waited for Holly. Before she could try and talk Conrad down, he shot the lower corner of the door. Suddenly, a loud shot rang out and Holly ran up to meet me. Both her legs were bleeding and she was screaming that she got shot. At this point, I also was obviously beginning to panic a bit. The look in his eyes when I saw him at the door, he just looked so evil, Null told the New York Post only days after the terrifying ordeal. Holly and I quickly dashed back inside my apartment unit. At this point, my mind was off. I genuinely don't remember what I was thinking. I just know my heart was pounding and I had never felt so much adrenaline at once before. I remember rushing back inside the apartment. I locked the door. I called 911, I grabbed a towel to try and wrap Holly's wound, and then we quickly rushed to the back balcony, a balcony 4 stories up with no emergency exit. There's only one way out of my apartment, and that's through the front door. The front door that Conrad was now outside of, firing his gun and desperately trying to get inside. Once we were on the back balcony and I had the police on the phone, I also then began recording this incident. Again, nasty online trolls are spreading some rumors that I was hiding behind Holly in this clip. I think the confusion really stems from a lack of knowledge on my apartment unit. I think a lot of people think Conrad was already inside the apartment, and I was just standing by while Holly watched him with nothing but a thin glass shield protecting her. This is not the case. Conrad was still outside the apartment unit, and from Holly's view, she could see the front door. She was watching to ensure Conrad didn't bust down the front door. I wasn't hiding behind Holly, I was watching the side door. Had Conrad simply opened the unlocked door and walked down this indoor-outdoor hallway, he would have had a perfect angle on me and Holly. It honestly felt like being stuck inside of a nightmare. I knew that if this guy got inside that he would quickly be able to kill me, and I was only on the phone.
See, a lot of people, I don't, like I said, I talked enough about the LARPing shit, but I guess I'll just try to throw in, like, you know, a serious description of what a lot of motherfuckers that LARP about what they would have did would have actually done. A lot of y'all motherfuckers would have just jumped. Because, you know, the only reason why they watch the doors in the order that they watch, because she's less likely to be a target, like of actual, you know, murder than Hunter. Because Hunter didn't want to go first because he's the person that he's after. And, you know, showing the fact that he has weakness for her still, you know, she stood at the one that was, you know, closer, or, you know, in proximity, or, you know, closer in view of, you know, the person with the firearm, and Hunter watched the back door. So they both did kind of do a team effort of watching to see if he would come down the stairs or would he go on like the back porch and stuff. But it's a good thing that this dude was so enraged that he could not you know, figure out, you know, how to get through the door, and, you know, it ended a different way. And, you know, thankfully both of these two survived and stuff. So, you know, like, yeah.
With the police for like 9 minutes, but both me and Holly genuinely felt like it was at least 30 minutes. The officer told me later that day that he's never been so scared that he was going to die. This is most likely due to the fact that Conrad also shot 2 police officers, non-fatally wounding both of them. Officers
Back to blue, huh?
were also apparently firing from below the floor, and Conrad would not give up. He was apparently so enraged, he didn't stop firing at police until they showed up with a riot shield. Somehow Conrad managed to text Holly throughout this ordeal also. Holly sent him a picture of her wound while Conrad was trying to break down the door. She begged him to surrender. Conrad again reiterated that Holly, quote, made the wrong choice, as well as his intention to kill me. Conrad went on to claim that he didn't mean to shoot Holly. His last text says, I should have killed the coward. Realizing he had mistakenly hurt Holly, his plan to breach the apartment had failed, and the cops were now rushing him, Conrad tragically took his own life outside my apartment door, leaving behind a very gruesome scene. A scene that was so gruesome, it took a hazmat team over 10 hours to clean the mess. An entire flooring needed to be redone, costing $10,000 in damages and repairs. As I already discussed, the active shooter protocol explains the steps to take when an active shooting occurs. After this ordeal, I looked more into this protocol, and I'm pleased to say
Hunter always did his research. I would have just, because, you know, to be honest, if I was in a situation like this, regardless of how it turned out, I would say, I did what I did, fuck you. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's like, don't get me wrong, I understand how he likes to base things off facts, and he likes to put things in the face of cowardly conservatives and fascists that are trying to say that he weak and he did the wrong thing. But at the same time, it's like these people's opinions are irrelevant, because a lot of these people have never been in like a small street fight or a confrontation at the bar. So their opinions about what they would or wouldn't do during an active shooter or during somebody with a gun just does not matter. These people do not matter. Their opinions about what happened do not matter, because a lot of these people are weak fucking imbeciles, and that's why they are conservatives anyway at the end of the day. So I don't really think it's even a reason to even like dignify this research. It'd be good to just say, we survived, fuck off.
Holly and I did everything correctly, despite what some idiots online might be saying. Even Navy SEALs have explained the best course of action when an active shooter makes himself known. As soon as you hear shots, the first thing you must do is remove yourself from the immediate vicinity of the source of the gunfire. Simply put, you must do whatever it takes to get clear if you expect to have any chance of survival or retaliation. If you survive the first 10 seconds of this type of ambush, you have a much better chance of making it out alive. So anyone shitting on me for my first reaction being to run from the active shooter who had already made his bloodlust for me known is simultaneously shitting on fucking Navy SEALs who advocate for this exact same protocol. And that's really unfortunate, isn't it? When these dumb fuck conservatives are so desperate to hate on me that they accidentally are unironically shitting on our troops as well. Someone who served in the Marine Corps and was a former police officer of 4 years also reviewed our video. He wrote a statement further explaining how and why what Holly and I did was in fact the correct move. Presuming there was no firearm to retrieve in the home, moving to the back balcony is again a perfectly sound move. Apartment exterior and interior doors are not known for being sturdy, and a few swift kicks likely could have broken down the exterior door. It is again very likely that adrenaline was a factor. Conrad, either due to lack of attention or panic, failed to kick down the exterior door. Holly watched the exterior door from the inside via a glass pane, while Hunter watched the exterior door from the outside. Hunter further stated that if Conrad gained entry to the apartment, they were prepared to jump from the patio. This was teamwork pure and simple, as Hunter could almost see the exterior door from the patio, and this would be a longer shot to take. While if Conrad broke the door down and turned to the patio door, he would see Holly first, reducing the likelihood of another shotgun blast. This could be intentional, subconscious, or adrenaline panic, but no matter what, for two panicked kids on the verge of getting murdered, this is a series of good moves. Finally, there are some detractors who have tried to paint me as anti-police or a defund the police liberal, the quartering in particular.
Oh, the quartering, the fat bastard who pissed in his basement, the grifting hack dipshit who has never noticed partaking in a debate to debate his ideas of everything becoming woke. A fucking piece of shit with ties to actual neo-Nazis. What the fuck ever, bro. Second of all, I'm a defund the police person, and I don't think the police deserve merit for doing their fucking job. The police job is to intervene in active shooter situations. They did their job. Here's a fucking sticker. You don't, and it's like, you don't get a fucking pass or a sticker for doing the fucking bare minimum of what the fuck the police supposed to do. Just because the police did their job correctly this time does not take away from or distract from all the socio-economic harm done by the institution of police in the United States. So let's get that shit out of the way to fucking begin with before, we start talking about like, oh, you like call the police, but you don't like cops. Because yeah, cops are, especially in times of need, are expected to do their fucking job regardless of criticism. This would be like saying, like if, that's any job. Because if you doing a job and your job gets criticized by people and people don't like your workforce, you are still going to be expected to do your job. Not to mention the amount of, social analysis and studies and, systemic inequality that can be, derided from the American, especially, and I'm not saying other countries don't deal with this, but especially the American iteration of policing, like how much shit we can get in here to say or see how we do need police reform, to see the ways that police don't need a lot of the budget that they pull. Like, that's still a conversation that can be had regardless of this one time the police got off their ass and did their fucking job. So I don't understand this like criticism, like, oh, you claim to hate police, but you called the police to do their fucking job the one time they're supposed to do the job. Like, me and him obviously have different opinions on police, because I'm a pro defund the police person. I'm not necessarily an abolish the police person, because I don't really feel like we would ever get to a point in time where I think the best the United States can hope for, with a lot of dumbass conservatives around in one way or another, is a good social democracy. So I don't think America is going to become some anarchist state where there's no need for the police because everybody has everything that they need. But the police, as it stands as an institution, is in need of reform, both of training, both and on funding, in order to make them a better institution. So yeah, like, I don't understand this criticism. And it's like I said, like if you ask me, that's why I made that ad hominem attack earlier. It's like conservatism to me is like the fucking it's like the ideology of a fucking 11-year-old. Like you say you don't like police, but you call police. So that doesn't stop me from criticizing the police as an institution. Like it doesn't stop me from criticizing police as an institution. Like yeah, this makes no sense to me.
Has been lying his ass off about this. The reason these degens are spreading this rumor is really quite simple. They believe that if I am anti-police, that this entire situation is somehow ironic because I called the police when someone showed up at my door with a
And keep in
fucking
mind,
shotgun.
Hunter Avalon, he's not even as far left as I am or any of the other left wing live streamers. Because to be honest with you, I'm pretty much just a black anarchist. I'm full on far left, you know, ACAB, all cops are bastards, which I will explain in a second. And maybe one day me and him can talk about this. But I'm ACAB for a reason that I will get to in a second.
The truth is, though, I'm not anti-police. I've been vocal in the past about my opinions on why phrases like ACAB and defund the police are not only bad slogans, but bad ideas also.
Really quickly.
I'm in favor of...
Quickly. Let's talk about ACAB. A lot of people ask leftists, why do they say all cops are bastards? And this is a criticism of the left's rhetoric where they say that they're putting good police officers in the same pool as the bad ones. The reason why people say, first of all, the first reason why people say all cops are bastards is because the police, as we've seen them throughout history, always find themselves on the wrong side of every social struggle or economic struggle. When it came to slaves escaping, when it came to unions being set up in the North, the police were there to break the backs and send back the people that escaped, that were slaves, slave patrols in the South, and they were there to assault, beat up, and arrest labor workers who were striking for better wages and better treatment. So the police, starting off with their first iteration in America, were not a good institution. We move forward a little bit throughout history, and we can see when it comes to any social struggle for progress, the police in their departments, the people that work in the actual sheriff, the police departments, and what have you, in the institution of policing, have often at the time been on the wrong side of social progress. When we start with women's suffrage and women's rights, who was there to beat up women trying to find or get the right to vote, and who was there to beat up women who wanted bodily autonomy and some say in the workplace and a job outside of being a maid or a housewife, who was there when gay people were even trying to find private clubs. This is a violation of private property rights for your capitalism lovers out there who had spaces where they were just like being gay, and the police broke in and beat and humiliated and harassed LGBT people before, I want to say, like 1972 and 1968, especially with the riots that happened in New York City. I always forget the name, Stonewall. Who was there when any race of people, and I'm sure this has happened to Latino people contemporarily, has happened to Arab people, and I'm sure to some extent everybody in between who has been a supporter of like racial justice of any kind. The police have been on the wrong side of this, not only with workers as like officers on the streets and sergeants and commanders and chief also being white supremacists themselves, but and actively going out to stop and halt protests. I know under the pretense of quote unquote stopping rioting, but an active disdain for people of color rising up and demanding being treated as first class citizens because we work and live in this fucking country too. And I'm not even talking about just throughout 2020. I'm talking about through all of history. The police have been on the wrong side of every socio-economic argument. And this leads to a lot of people saying all cops are bastards. And then even the good cops will sometimes go along with bad political causes because their friends are doing it. Or they get, warped into it over time. It's a lot of police officers that are pieces of shit now. They probably started being a cop to protect the community, but as you go along in policing, you learn about the institution and a lot of shit they learn in like killology, about how they see different races of people. And you start to, of course, Hunter is very familiar with this, and a lot of other people are familiar with this in different ways. The disparity of sentencing and arrest of different demographics of people. The police are on the wrong side of every fucking thing. And this is why, especially on the left or in society in general, and I'm even sure some right-wing people that can agree with some of the shit that I'm saying, probably for different reasons. I'm not talking about Nazis who get clubbed over the fucking head for Sieg Heil and talking about what they want to do to Jewish people. I'm talking about, let's say you got like a right-wing Republican, he's a union worker, and he's mostly conservative, not too sure about gay people and whatever, but he goes out and strikes, and he gets clubbed over the fucking head because this conservative guy is trying to get better wages because he wants to take care of his wife and kids. So he's on a picket line. He's getting clubbed over the hit. He's getting riot shield to the fucking ground. But it's like I said in that one Gothics video, and she was being dishonest. It goes from class warfare to racial justice to feminism, anti-feminism, and women's suffrage fight, and and even to LGBT people. The police keep being on the wrong side of every struggle, and that's why people say all cops are bastards. Because it seems like throughout history, because I was going to say it seems like to me, but no. It seems throughout history, and this includes black, Latino, gay, and women police officers too, but it seems like throughout history, the police cannot find themselves on the right side of any socioeconomic argument, and they will vaguely do the right thing when it's necessary. Like, oh, well, would you call the police on like a Nazi gang in your neighborhood? But it's like the police are reluctant to attack right-wing protesters, even outright Nazis, versus the way that they treat civil rights protesters or union strikers. So that's the issue with cops, and that's why people say all cops are bastards from their training, but I feel like it's mostly people say all cops are bastards is because the police, as it stands in America, in any city, in every sheriff department, and every state police, keeps having a bad habit of siding with the wrong side of history. Under the pretense, a lot of the time, of enforcing the law. But a lot of these cops, they can read and write, so I can't say like, oh, they were scared of writing, so they had to enforce this curfew. I can't give them that because, I expect them to do a little bit more thinking about their job and what they're doing. Because a lot of cops, especially black cops, can lay down their arms and say, hey, unless there's actual rioting, we're not going out, and disobey. But they never do. And that's a whole nother video about how a lot of black cops are white supremacists. But yeah, like, that's why people say all cops are bastards. It's because the police keep finding themselves on the wrong side of every like socioeconomic argument. In every fight for progress for somebody, there's a police officer with a baton or a riot shield or some tear gas. So yeah. And I feel like, just saying like, well, there are good cops. They just exist in a bad system. That kind of, if you ask me, that downplays, the actual harm a lot of cops, actually cause to a lot of people. And when you give them this brevity of, like, we're not going to call out the entire institution, there's some bad effort, it gives them brevity to keep getting away with it and keep doing the shit that they've been doing for the past century or in a quarter. Or a century and a half, I should say, just about since they existed.
Police reform, and reform costs money. Defunding the police really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and demonizing all cops as bastards only...
We already went over the ACAB thing, so I guess we can talk about defund the police. Defund the police means that we take away funding from the police force and send it to other government institutions that can help prevent crime. Because crime at the end of the day is a result of poverty. Poverty breeds crime. And when you crack down on things like lack of education, you crack down on things like, people not having a place to stay, homelessness and what have you. You give people places they can go if they're drug addicts or if they're drug addicted. You set up programs so people can get off drugs instead of arresting them, put in prison. You create programs for troubled kids so they have a place to go talk about their problems or get the help that they need and what have you. You provide even like certain services that pay like phone bills and what have you. You wind up creating a situation where crime drops, but keep giving money and funding to the police never seems to work. As the police budgets inflate, crime kind of goes down anyway, so it doesn't feel as if giving the police more funding is it's not really correlative to the crime rate dropping. There's a lot of other social factors of why crime has gone down, I want to say, over the past decades, but giving the police more funding is not one of them. And in fact, funding the police more and ignoring other things like food assistance, public transportation, and education actually breeds more crime that the police will eventually have to crack down on later, because people that don't have shit to live for one way or another sometimes wind up being criminals.
Only adds fuel to the flame. Later, Uber and Lyft receipts revealed that he was actually in my area for several days before the attempted murder. Police later revealed to us that Conrad had also gone to shooting ranges several times prior to his attempted murder. He had several different types of ammunition with him as well. It's really eerie just how premeditated this entire thing was. My thoughts now. I'm really glad that I waited over a week to make this video. When this incident first happened, I was obviously shaken up a bit, and I was also really angry. The police told me not to look at the scene when we left, but I didn't listen.
And it's like during this live stream, you had a lot of like coping weird motherfuckers that was in his live stream, but it's like Hunter wasn't really himself, and it's like he didn't want to talk about the situation directly. It was very strange to see him so shaken up, because he's usually more of like a laid back kind of, lackadaisical, like, just like a good white kid. Like, he's not just like, I don't mean that in like a bad way, but I'm just saying, like, he's not like, confrontational, angry. But I guess, now since, almost dying will do this to you several times, or at least this time, I guess, he's more of a brazen man now, and that's sad. Because and I'm not saying it like in a father way, I mean in an older brother way. I feel like that even compared to some of the stuff I went through, I just want the innocent to stay innocent. And it sucks that this guy, this man has went through something that has tarnished his view of the world and his way of life for probably the rest of his life to come. And who knows, because there's so much hate on this guy. How many more attempts would it be to try and do something to him?
Listen, I looked anyway. Obviously, I believed the police when they told me that he was dead, but I looked in a vengeful way, out of spite almost. Because truthfully, I was angry. I was angry at what I felt was a monster who attacked me, hurt Holly, and definitely scarred us both. I kept going back and forth between being really angry and then just being kind of numb. Like, I'd feel very angry and a vengeful satisfaction that he was dead, but then other times I feel fine and kind of surprised, like, why don't I feel more shaken up by this whole thing? I was mostly feeling anger or vengeance, but this also soon changed. During this past week, when I've been taking some time off, I went back to Holly's home in Washington to help her move. Given the circumstances, she no longer wanted to remain in the same apartment she shared with her now deceased ex-boyfriend. Being inside Holly's apartment and seeing some of Conrad's things that he left behind really helped me to start humanizing this person a lot more. I started to see him as less and less of a monster and more like a really broken person. And that experience was really weird, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this is a guy he watched my debates, he liked my videos, he liked video games, he liked streaming. I started to feel a lot less angry at him and more just really sad for him. I feel like me and this guy could have been friends had the circumstances been different. Conrad also struggled with his fair share of mental health issues, as you can imagine. I've also had my fair share of mental health struggles, but I've never been in a place so dark that I'd even consider doing what he did. Honestly, I have a lot of empathy for this person now, because this just makes me realize how broken inside he must have been and how bad.
A lot of people might make fun of that, but that's how it goes sometimes. Because even some of your worst enemies, like I think I described in a previous video. Oh yeah, it's my Bad Boys Aren't Real video. How I dealt with like a kid that was like a gang member who I got into a lot of fights and confrontations with in like the 2000s when I was a kid. And then now that I look back at our neighborhood and you know how he grew up and who his family members was, it's not hard to have empathy for people you once saw as your enemy, because everybody has their reason for doing the things that they do or being the way that they are. And it's not about just letting a person get away with it, but it's just about seeing a bigger picture outside of yourself.
He must have been feeling to actually plot something like this and then carry it out. It's apparent now that Conrad's suicide was also planned. The day of the attack, when Holly and I still believed Conrad was at a friend's house in his home state, he told Holly he was excited to, quote, go home today. What sounded like a normal text message explaining his excitement to return home from a friend's house suddenly became an eerie premonition after his attempted murder and his suicide. This whole ordeal has taught me a lot. This story has a lot of layers. It taught me more about domestic violence. It taught me that being in an abusive relationship, and more specifically, leaving one, is so much more dangerous than simply walking out the door. It also reveals issues with men and their mental health and men's mindset. Conrad couldn't bring himself to let Holly go. She loved him and cared for him for so long, and all she wanted in return was for him to love her as a best friend. But unfortunately, he just could not let that happen. He told Holly that he couldn't live without her in some of his final messages. Building your entire identity on another person can only end badly. And in this case, it ended worse than I think any of us could have ever imagined. It also seriously breaks my heart to know that Conrad had reached out to multiple different therapies prior to this ordeal, and none of them got back to him in time. Men oftentimes do not have healthy outlets for their emotions, and they don't always open up to their friends, if they even have any friends. So many times men feel alone in this world with their own thoughts and emotions, and it's tragic that sometimes that results in atrocities. This experience has also solidified my stance on guns. I am not anti-gun. I've never
Really at there is that's true. Is because men's mental health is not taken seriously, and sadly enough, it's almost entirely exploited by a lot of right wing or red pill grifters that seek to galvanize the animosity a lot of men feel from their experiences into becoming terrible people that do shit like this. And I hope we do one day come to a world where men are allowed to actually open up and talk about their problems and their bad experiences without people looking down upon them or judging them. Lest it be that we find a society where there is no right wing grifters to capitalize on the anguish that men have been feeling under late capitalism and galvanize them into either white supremacist movements or script them from money for like cryptocurrency or whatever the fuck. But yeah, men's mental health not taken seriously, and not because of feminism, but because we built a society around men just being strong all the time. But it's just like it's moments in your life you can't be strong. You got to be strong enough to open up and talk about how you feel just as well as strong enough to deal with the things that you have to deal with.
Never been anti-gun. I'm pro-gun ownership, and I absolutely do wish that I had a gun when this situation happened. I didn't own a.
If you wondering like if I'm pro-gun or not, how can I put how pro-gun I am? We can talk about how an armed proletariat must be maintained, but I love. You want to know what was that thing that the Black Panther? Because you want to know what I want to bring back, since we're all pro-gun here, right? You conservatives, you love guns. I want to bring this back. Let's see if they got actual. I don't think they got actual images of them doing it, but yeah, that's what I want to bring back. Yeah, I want to bring back cop watching. That's how pro gun we are here.
A gun mostly because I have kids and I genuinely never really felt the need to go and get one. It wasn't like some principled stance or some like fear of gun thing. I genuinely just never thought about going and getting a gun. Regardless, that has definitely changed now, and I will be looking into owning a firearm moving forward. I want people to have the ability to protect themselves.
And a life, very similar. I'm not trying to make fun of or say that white people can't have it difficult, but he lived a suburban life where it's kind of quiet and not really probably a lot of traumatic or bad stuff happening. A lot of people grow up in neighborhoods where they don't have to worry about people breaking in their house, or they don't have to worry about a confrontation at the store, or some other bullshit causing them to have to get their gun or whatever. And yeah, sadly enough, as we know things for as we know things how they are, but he's come to a point where he feels he has to buy a firearm. Like I said, traumatic experiences make you lose your innocence.
And this stance of mine has never changed. What I don't want is for people like Conrad to have the ability to acquire guns so easily. He allegedly got the shotgun he used to try to kill me from a gun store in West Virginia, and despite only having a temporary ID with no photo, he was still given a gun. This is absolutely unacceptable. Law-abiding citizens can own guns, and if they're law-abiding citizens, then they'll be able to pass a background check.
I wonder if my black ass can go in that gun store and buy a gun with no identification card. I wonder.
And a waiting period. So in closing, despite the nasty rumors online, Holly showed remarkable bravery. We both acted quickly and strategically despite being terrified, and it's because of our actions that we're both alive.
This is the part where he's going to probably talk about donating, plus his video is going long, and I want to get a second video in today. But I said for him, yeah, if you want, just go donate to Hunter Avalon or his spouse, because they could really use the help, because obviously they have to move around a lot. They got to afford hotels, they got to eat. They have a lot of legal fees and other things that they probably have to deal with. So, go donate if you want. And the reason why I made this video, because, along with, usually I try not to mention other, people's name on my stream, but along with like Xander Hall or Demon Mama or Merrick DeVal, Dylan Burns, Hunter Avalon is one of the people that I feel like I watch the most. And he inspired me to buy this laptop and this crude microphone and just start recording my political opinion. And it just breaks my heart that, this stuff, it happened to him. Because, I learned a lot from his channel. A lot of things that I know, even though, I'm further to the left than him, I learned, because of him doing his debates and his videos on it. And it, it really does hurt to see somebody that, you in a way not necessarily look up to as in a worship way, but you look up to in a way of the person like some damn, you know what, I'll buy a camera and a laptop, and I'll talk about shit too. But yeah, it hurts to see, man. I hope that he finds peace of mind and restitution for what he went through, man. I would say I pray for him, but I am anyway, even though he is atheist. I pray for him anyway, man. That'll be all from this video.